Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Michael and I am tracking my progress to becoming more financially independent, which includes paying off $140,000 worth of student loan debt that I have racked up over the course of 6 years of achieving my master's degree in occupational therapy. One of the key steps to be able to achieve financial independence is to be able to know where your money is going, what your money is being used for, and what your expenses are. With that being said, I have made it a strict practice for myself to take a monthly inventory and look at my budget to make sure that I am on track with my expenses and that there is not something that my money is being dumped into that it really shouldn't be, but that I know exactly where my money is going and I can direct it to where I want to go. In this video, we are going to be taking a look and budgeting out my paychecks for the month of February. Now, I've only been paid once so far this month, so I can really only add one line of income so far to my monthly budget. I'm sure many of my returning viewers are familiar with this pattern of video. I'm gonna take you guys over and we are gonna look at my budget spreadsheet that I do in Google Sheets. It's pretty simple and straightforward from there. I like using this platform to budget out my money, but you can use any platform you guys feel comfortable with. So let's go ahead and take a look at February 2022 monthly budget. One thing to highlight before we even begin to start punching in some numbers for my budget this month is that it really feels like some of these expense columns and expense items have risen drastically within the last month. Some of you guys may have remembered me talking about gas prices last month and how they were rising, but it felt like they were coming down a little bit. Well, I spoke way too soon because gas prices around here, they've gone up pretty much like 75 cents a gallon from the last time I filmed a video, which is just crazy. I'm not going to get into it because I'll totally ramble on here, and that's not the point of this video, but it's just crazy the amount of drastic increase in prices over the course of less than a month. So we're going to see some changes here to the budget. I've tried to adjust a little bit with my pricing for the planned expense, but you're going to notice things like gas prices and grocery prices I have modified from the previous month's planned expense because the cost of living has just risen quite drastically in what feels like less than a month. So we'll go ahead now and start punching in some numbers here into my budget. So the first thing we need to take a look at, as always, is the income column. We always start with income. It's a lot easier for me to do it that way. You don't necessarily have to, but I like to start with at least looking at some good news of how I'm getting paid this month for the month of February. So I did receive my first paycheck, and my first paycheck totaled out to be a good one, $2,557.39. That's a quite good one for me. As you guys can see, I usually plan for $2,100, so it's nice to have an extra $457 added into that paycheck as a little bit of room for buffer for these higher expenses that we are going to have to cover this month. I have not received my second paycheck yet. That comes in next week, so I will be able to know what that is then. Moving on down to the side hustle income, I've explained a little bit on this channel what my side hustle is. I work per diem with kids for occupational therapy. However, I'm supposed to get paid for the month of January. It's not going to be a super high amount because I only had one kid that I was working with at that time, and I was only able to do like 3 visits, but I cannot figure out how to submit my voucher. I've kind of reached out and asked for some help, but there's like a step I'm missing because it's not allowing me to print off the voucher I need to do to get paid. So we got to figure that one out. Dividends, those are usually around $11 a month. Actually, I think I checked on it the other day just because I was curious to see how my portfolio was doing with my TD AMERITRADE account, just my regular taxable brokerage account. And so far, I think it actually has risen by like $2 on average a month, which I'm okay with. But that money gets reinvested right back into the holdings anyway, so it doesn't even come into any money that I can play around with yet. Miscellaneous, we don't have any miscellaneous checks or anything like that this month. And then I don't even know what my cash back is this month. I actually just paid off the credit card for this month or this cycle, and the total amount of cash back I don't think has hit yet. I think it's somewhere around like $27. But I don't know that one for sure, so I will wait to input that until I have a more clear answer, and I don't want to stop the video right now to try to figure that out. So that concludes my income column so far for the month of February. As you guys can see, I plan for around a little over $4,200, but right now I've broken my Control-Z. There we go. Good. So I plan for around $4,200, but right now I've only been able to input a little over $2,500. So let's hope that this next paycheck is another good one like it was for the last paycheck. But moving on down from there, kind of looking not quite at expenses yet, but I guess you can call this next line item an expense, which are my sinking funds. I'm trying to be consistent with this. I know in the past I talked about creating sinking funds and that I never did, but last month I did add the line item for sinking funds, and I've been trying to contribute to them since then. But so far there's only 3 things really in my sinking funds column, which are vacation, Christmas, and baby. I should really add something in here so that people don't think that we are expecting. This is more just a line item to prepare for future of when we do want to have kids. That's why we've added it in here. But each one of these I funded last month with $50. So that's why it says planned 50 and the total saved here is 50. And how I've set this up, actually a returning viewer of mine, I think their name is, well, their YouTube name is Ganth. That's just how I pronounce it. I'm not sure if this is how that individual sees their name pop up. That's how they pronounce it. But this viewer and commenter suggested I set it up like I do my income and expense column, where I have a planned expense, an actual that I'm actually able to contribute, and then a last item which shows the total amount that I have contributed so far to each sinking fund, each bucket, if you will, because I do it in Ally Bank. So this will be updated at the end of each month with the new total amount for each sinking fund. So this month we are going to plan on contributing $50 for each of these sinking fund items, but when I actually do contribute that, I will put it into the actual to make sure that I actually did 50, and then we will update the total amount saved for each item. But there's nothing really to contribute right now. I have not done this, so I'm not going to put anything in for the actual. The next thing we have to look at is the expenses. Now this is kind of the other side of the coin to budgeting. You have to know how much you get paid, how much money you bring in, but you also have to know how your money goes out and what it needs to go out to pay for. But before we start plopping in some numbers into this expense column, we got to take a look down here at my total expenses, because this month this number has risen. We have a total expense needed to cover of just over $2,800, and it feels like there's becoming more and more things in my budget that it's harder to control the price of, like groceries and gas. Especially with my job, I drive a lot, so I can't really minimize driving because it's part of my job to make money. But unfortunately, gas prices are rising. So without rambling on about that, let's go ahead and start looking at each expense column, or line item, I should say. So first off, we had the sinking funds. I have not contributed towards that, so we're just going to leave that empty, as I was just talking about. My mortgage is $1,059 a month, and that gets automatically deducted from my bank account on the first of every month. That's already been paid for. The internet, that is $64, just under $65 there. And that's, I don't think it's, that's on like an automatic payment, but it hasn't been taken out yet. It gets taken out, I think, on the 19th of the month, but I've just left it in there as already paid because it's an automatic payment that just gets deducted. Moving on down the list to my water bill. This is something that is due every other month. Didn't have to pay it last month, so it's going to be due this month, and I have not received an email as to how much it's going to be. I'm hoping it's going to be within the normal limits that it usually is, which is usually right around 50 bucks. That's why I say planned $50. It's been lower in the past, and so I'm hoping that with the winter months, with not being outside and watering the garden or something like that, that it's going to be a little bit lower, but we'll see, because cost of living just keeps rising, so who knows, maybe they'll tack on something to increase the water bill. Next up is car insurance. I have it planned here for $105. However, it did rise slightly last month to $117. They usually send me a text message around, like, I don't know, the 15th of the month, just saying how much it's gonna be. I don't plan on it having too much of a change. Usually it's just by a few dollars. So I'm just gonna I'm not gonna put anything in yet because I haven't paid it. It is an automatic expense that just gets withdrawn from my bank account, but I don't know how much it's actually gonna be at this time because they haven't sent me the email or the text message about it. My phone bill, I actually just paid it right before I clicked record on this video. I pay my aunt $101. That's for both my wife and I's phone. Next up, we have student loans. And as you guys know, I usually pay a bare minimum every month of $800 towards my private student loans, not my government loans, because those are still in deferment. And so far, I've paid $200 of that amount towards my expense. I need to update the automatic payment on my Sallie Mae account because it's only subtracting $200 from my bank account on the 10th of the month, but that's an easy fix, so it's okay. The budget is reflecting accurately how much I'm putting towards my student loans. It's just I need to update some of the automatic payments that are going on behind the scenes with all this stuff. Moving on down from there is my electric bill, and thankfully this month it is considerably lower from what it was last month. Last month, if you guys remember, it was like $300, which I know for some people that's normal, but for my house, it never really goes above $150. So there was something weird going on there. It might be that they were trying to do some correction from, I don't know, slack they gave me throughout the year, and then they were just trying to bill it in one bill at the end of the month or at the end of the year. I don't know if that's what they did, but this month it is actually $62. So I'm thankful for that. I usually budget for around $200 because I try to be a little bit over budget with my expense column, like shoot higher than I need to, just so I can plan for it. But like here, if it's less than that, well, nice. That's good. That's a good thing. That's $138 less than what I budgeted for. So that's $138 that I get to use elsewhere in my budget, most likely towards paying off student loans. Excuse my voice, I don't know why it's starting to crackle and everything like that. Groceries we have here. I have increased the planned expense for groceries, and I don't think I've even increased it halfway enough to what I needed to. It used to be that we could get by, this was like 3 to 4 months ago, we could get by on groceries between $150 to $180 a month. And at that time I was like, let's see if we can make it any smaller, and it was kind of hard to do that. Last month we spent $438 on groceries. So I don't think I've increased this nearly enough as I need to be. One of the things I asked my wife, because she usually does all the grocery management, and she said that one of the reasons why it has increased is because a lot of items that we would normally buy, they've increased in their price significantly. Stuff like chicken, because we usually buy a lot of chicken. But then we've also tried to eat a little bit healthier and have a little bit more variety with our meals. Back when our grocery budget was like $150 to $180, we tended to just do like a crock pot meal for the week, which I was totally okay with. We just had like rice and beans and chicken, and it would last us like 4 days. My wife apparently hated it. She told me that the other day. She hated it. I thought it was great because I was saving money, but whatever. I guess you have to compromise somewhere. So we'll see what our grocery budget is this month. I'm not going to be inputting anything today because I don't know what it's going to be. I think we've only purchased one cycle of groceries this month. We usually do it twice a month, I believe. Amazon Prime, 15 bucks, nothing new there. I'm sure you guys are familiar with Amazon Prime. At least they're consistent. I shouldn't have said that. Now they're going to raise their price. Gas prices, and this is gas for my vehicle. I've increased this. I think I had it at 150 or 180. I bumped it up to 200. Don't think that's enough because, like I said, gas prices, since the filming of my last video, I think around here have increased by 75 cents a gallon. And that's crazy. The other day I filled up my tank and I was pretty much empty. And I have like a small car, it's a Hyundai Elantra. And it cost me like $45 to fill up my tank. Actually, I think it was a little bit more than that, like 46 or 47. And last year at this time, I was able to fill up my car for, I think, 25 bucks. And so you can see how drastically that has changed. And that's like sometimes like a bi-weekly expense for me, or twice a week expense. I always say those words wrong because I drive so much for work. And so this is an expense item that's really going to be punching hard at my budget. And it's not something I can totally control. We try to be frugal with our driving on the weekends, which I know isn't the most fun thing for my wife because she likes to travel and things like that. And I'm like, I drive every day. Gas is extremely expensive. I just want to stay home. But unfortunately, that is a line item here that we are going to see increase and increase and increase. And I hope by saying that it's not going to increase, but we'll see. And then restaurants here. We haven't really been to any restaurants this month. This is the last item in my budget. We haven't been so far to a restaurant, at least that I can think of. So nothing really to update here. Let's see if we can keep it the whole month. I doubt it because if nothing goes into this restaurant column, it's definitely going to go into like a grocery item because there's Valentine's Day this month. There is my wife's birthday, which is the day after Valentine's Day. So we're going to be using up this restaurant money regardless, probably more so. And that brings us down to our total expenses, which so far, this is a little bit skewed because the actual expense doesn't equal the total expenses. That's because I don't know some of these numbers yet. So don't look at that. Don't look at these numbers yet. This will all make more sense when I have finished plugging in the actual expenses for the month of February. So that's going to wrap up and conclude this first budget video for the month of February. As you guys know, I try to post 2 budget with me videos per month. That way you guys get to see me set up the budget for the month and set up the expenses that I'm going to have to pay. And then the second video is more of a summation of how it went with paying off all those expenses and how much money I have left over to then contribute extra on top for my student loans. I thank you guys so much for watching this video and for supporting me along this journey to becoming financially independent and paying off all my student loans. I'm excited to see how fast I can potentially get out of my private student loans because those are dwindling down so well, and it's nice to see them, you know, below $10,000 now. So we'll see how fast I can get out of debt, and budgeting really helps me stay on track with my goals to becoming debt-free and financially independent. But thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you soon in the next one. Take care.